welcome everybody to Scl Weekly. We are here to call in all your info, everything you're going to need to know about the Sunday Cup League. We're looking at our beautiful website here. We got our co-host Carlin Hicks and host Jenny Benson. Say hello, Carlin, to everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. Okay, first off, we just wrapped up Daytona 500 qualifying. That was pretty cool. Everybody had a great time. It was real close. 3/1000ths of a second apart. So the front row is very close. Very, very close here. So we'll go ahead and take a look at it. We're talking about it right now. You guys can see it right here. This is our 2 time lapse. Everybody came into the room, did their 2 time lapse. It was pretty uneventful as far as running it, but then when you look at all the times, man, it was close. I'm going to take a look at these times and give us a rundown here, Carlin, and looks like Kip and Cat Guy got real close, sitting on the front row.
Oh yeah, Kip and Cat Guy, the rookie, they automatically qualified for the season 18 Daytona 500, running 2/1000ths apart. Vindictive in 5th. He's Winston Cup rookie. He sat on the provisional pole for a while. As you can see, myself and Super were the top qualifying Toyotas, 1/1000th apart. Basically, anything within a 10th of a second is glued together on the track. So, nobody from 17th on to 1st has anything to feel ashamed of here. It's just you hit a pebble when somebody else didn't. But as you can see, this is how everybody's going to line up. The odd numbers are running the first duel next weekend. The even numbers, the second duel. And, as always, it's always very tight at Daytona in qualifying. And Kip gets another, I think it was the second time he's won the 500 pole.
Yeah, that's awesome. Kip had a very quick 48 Team Dano Moore car, but the newly formed Regulator Racing brought Cat Guy out there with a very, very well prepared 48 car, and he sat on the pole also. He is not going to make the 125. That's our latest news. So he's going to be sitting out. He's got a little business trip. That's cool because he's locked into this thing. So he will not be in race number 2. So that will bump up Colio onto the pole for race number 2. So that's going to be an awesome race too. Those 125s are always fun, Carlin. What is your greatest memories about these 125 races?
Well, now that they're points races, they take on a whole different attitude to them. I remember running we first ran it, I believe, in season 14, and they were pretty laid back because guys knew that they weren't likely to get bumped as long as you were, had been in the points the last season. But now that it's worth points, you're not going to see the lead drivers of a team giving their rookie teammates spots like we saw in the past because it's worth championship points. And I think now is a good time to go over and explain to the guys how the qualifying for the 500 will actually work. And basically what that means is that the front row qualifiers, Kip and Cat, and that's not going to be in his. The top 4 besides the front row qualifier in the 125 is locked into the 500. So, for example, in race 1 here, the top 4 besides Kip will fill out the top 10 or fill out the inside row up to 9. The top 10 is going to be set out of the 125, and then 11 through 15 are the provisionals. Whoever happens to need them.
For the Daytona 500 itself, these are just qualifying races to get into the 500. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about how the 500 is going to be set up here.
Yeah, exactly. This is exactly how the field's going to set up. The top 10 in the 125 is what sets the 500. The rest are provisionals. We've got 17 qualifiers. I don't know how many at large may show up for the 125, so it definitely looks like guys are going home. There are definitely going to be guys that aren't running the 500 that qualified, and while that's bad for them, it's always good for competition. It gives an extra bit of pressure on the 125.
Yeah, with as close as the field is, with the 125 Daytona 500 qualifying times that they all sat down, it's going to be very, very close. I don't think anybody's got a really competitive edge, but that's Daytona, isn't it? One little thing I'd like to say in the field here, our only Ford qualifier, sitting back here in 17th place, ran a 49.163. Now that's a very slow pace in qualifying, but Mayer has got something up his sleeve. He's a former Daytona 500 champion. He knows how to get it done, and he's the only Ford in the field. So maybe he knows something that everybody else doesn't. We will have to see 2 Sundays from now. So that's also a points race next Sunday, the 125. Speaking of points, we'll go ahead and take a look at our last season's points and start talking about our champions. Obviously, our Winston Cup champion, the biggest thing you can have here, that in the IndyCar series. Those are the 2 top Class 1 races. So we'll go ahead and pull up our points here for the Winston Cup, and maybe Carlin can talk a little bit about how these Winston Cup points accumulate over the year as we look at last season's point standings.
Yeah, we had about 8 races leading up to the chase. There was 4 races, I believe, 5 races in the chase. Colio with 3 wins. He wound up claiming it in the Winston Cup title. I believe it's his 3rd. He's won Winston Cup titles in season 14, 16, and 17, so he's now won 2 in a row. It was right down to the wire, as you can see. Our co-host here, Johnny Benson, finished 2nd, and Stay Down finished in 3rd. You could throw a blanket over us. I myself wound up back in 6th. I believe I missed one of the chase races, but when you look at the numbers for the season, it tells a story, overall. The guys up front, the wins kind of fluctuate 3-1, 3-2 down the list, but what doesn't fluctuate is top 3s and top 5s. Colio's in the top 5, 8 out of 9 races. Johnny was 7 out of 10 races, and so on and so forth. And that's the kind of performances
that's the big number, though, is this top 3 right here. Way more top 3s than anybody else around him. That's probably got him into that championship, knowing how to run up front every week.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I tell my guys that drive for me on JME Motorsports, what counts are the numbers you put up, and that starts with start, making the races, pole if you can get it, and it's great if you can win. But top 3s, top 5s, those are the numbers you want. I've run that when I've told some of the rookies when we're in a warm-up or practice room, that you are starting to get somewhere when you have an off race and still manage to get a top 5. That's when you know that you're starting to understand how to run a 200, 300, 400-mile race. And Colio definitely does, and that's why he's won 3 Winston Cup championships.
Yep, the whole Team Dinamore crew definitely comes very prepared to the racetrack. It's just a flip of the coin who's going to win every week. But I think, it's becoming a lot more competitive. Team Oki was on top for a long time. They're running very limited schedule with only Gooch running full time. Team Danamore's been on top for a couple years. I think, tides might be shifting a little bit. Everybody else is catching up. We got the new regulator racing in town. They're very quick. Benson Speed Equipment, if I don't say so. We've got the Grand National Champion. We're really looking for this Winston Cup again. So, you got to lose one to win one. And a lot of people have been losing one lately, and they're ready to win one.
Yeah, I was pleasantly thrilled. I got to give a credit to my guys. When I looked up the standings at the end of the season, and I found out JME had won the team championships in Winston Cup, IndyCar, and Camel GT. And Grand National, not Camel GT, but Grand National.
Yeah, we'll take a look at our team points here in the Winston Cup Series. 503 points. That's a big number to set up there. And congratulations for winning that team championship. That's pretty important, too. Just for
a lot of it's attendance. It's guys being consistent, when they do perform. I tend to have guys that, even if one has a bad race, they only run 7th or 8th rather than 12th or 13th. That helps you a lot getting one of the top
Grand National Championship was very, very close for this season standings. 3 points apart. Team championship. So that was an awesome run there. Came right down to the wire. Let's talk a little bit about that Grand National season. That was an awesome season we had over there for the Grand National cars, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I personally think that the Grand National season, I'm trying to pull it up here. There we go. That last race, I've had a lot of memorable races in my, 6 seasons now in the league, but I would say that, even more so than winning Indy 500 a couple times or the Brickyard. That last race of the season in GND, the Polyphony 200, is probably my most memorable one.
I mean, look
I
at
knew
those points, man. They don't lie.
Yeah, we went into that race knowing. Yeah, we went into that race knowing that it was very, very close, and I knew personally that I had to win, and then Johnny Benson finished third and DeCamber finished fourth for me to win championship. And I didn't think that was going to happen because that meant I had to come out and just blow it away. And I didn't play safe as you two guys probably did, and I wound up leading like 80% of the laps. But I just remember after making the last pit stop, and you guys were coming up through the field. You had been stuck in traffic, running 6, 7, 8, and you guys started moving up. And I remember after that last pit stop, this little bit of zen came over me, and I just went, you know what? I've done everything that I could do to win this championship.
You did everything too.
I did everything I could do, and if it doesn't hold up, it doesn't hold up. And then you came through the field and got that fastest lap.
Mm-hmm.
To
My
get
only
to 1
fastest
point.
lap of the season.
And I looked at that and went, well, I didn't do everything I could have done.
Yeah, that 1 point, that clinched it over you and DeCamber. I mean, that one fastest lap is what it came down to. That one lap decided the championship.
Yeah, and that's just incredible. I mean, that was like the 92 Hooters 500 in NASCAR. It was just some kind of great finish, and
DeCamber had the fastest lap right before that. It was real close. I set one, then he set it the lap after that, then I set it the lap after that, and then we were racing each other real hard for the next couple laps, and neither of us got a chance to set another one. That was it. So he could have definitely been a championship very easily, but you were out there running up front, so you didn't have a chance to run them fastest laps, but you were doing everything you could try and get away and get the most points.
Yeah, I was trying to win the race. I think that DeCamber is a great driver. He would have been well served to know exactly the mathematics there, because while you were trying to get a fastest lap, I mean, he should have been trying to pass you and get away from you.
Right.
You know what I mean? That would have won the championship. But, it's hard to remember that stuff in the middle of the race. I mean, I was lucky that when we had a pit stop and I would refresh my memory to remember what I needed. It's very hard to do that math in your head during the race. But either way, it was a great finish. And I think Kip put it perfectly. He said, when 3 guys finish that close, all 3 of them are champions. It's just one of them happened to mathematically finish with the most points, because every one of us did enough to win a title.
Yeah. And the rookie Joel Ritchie, I mean, he performed awesome coming up with the 4th place. I mean, we were all that close. And Joel Ritchie was trailing us by, 50 points, but he really put in a good season, too, for his rookie season, on a controller, no less.
Yeah, on a controller. He deserves, I nominate him for the Dave Marcus Award. You look at the numbers, and you look at the numbers and say he didn't put up big numbers. I don't even think he had a top 5, but as I told him, I said, the credit you deserve, Joel, is that you were consistently 6th through 8th.
That's the thing. Look at it all the way across. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. But that's just consistency. Consistency probably finished 6th every fucking race, and it got him 4th place. So.
Oh yeah, he was 6th through 8th, and these are races with 12 to 15 drivers in them every week. And he was just very consistent, and that's what you need to do. He earned that 4th place finish, no doubt, in the Rookie of the Year.
Definitely. You want to talk about, let's see, late model was an awesome season too. All these stock car races were great. But the other season 1 event that we had was our IndyCar series. That was an awesome championship too. You and Kip were really battling it out there at the end. You got Remy Lyondike in 3rd. I put up a good fight, but it's really about these consistencies. You 3 started 10 races, and that's what it paid.
Oh yeah, it was another great season. Kip won his 4th straight IndyCar championship. I have been second to him 3 times. I know how hard it is to chase him down. Once again, I felt I did everything I could. I won 4 races, but Kip is one of those guys that you might win the race but he's going to be second. You know,
Yep.
and you might be second, he's going to be third, and you don't gain much on him. Remy, he has several. I believe he's up to like 7 or 8 career IndyCar wins. He added one this season, which was the biggest one. He won the Indianapolis 500 for season 17.
Big race.
He's got one more to catch Ari Lyondike to, match his countryman there from Holland.
But I mean, look at it again. It came down to 4 bonus points for 4 pole positions, and he won by 8 points.
And 2 fastest laps.
Yep, 2 fastest laps. That's 6 points right there. 6 bonus points, and he won by 8 points. So, I mean, that shows you how important bonus points are in the league.
Oh yeah, he has actually won one of, I believe, the season 16 championship over me on bonus points. I was close enough to where without bonus points, I think I would have won it. But it's why it's really important. Kip's a good qualifier. He knows how to get that fastest lap when he needs to, and that's why he's won 4 straight championships. I'm hoping one of us can dethrone him this season, but
yep.
He's going to be a contender again. You had a great season. I've been telling you for a while that IndyCar was going to suit your style, and you wound up winning 2 races. Freak is a comer.
Yep, Rookie of the Year, Freak. He, speaking of pole positions, he got that 1 pole position, man. That's what he hangs his hat on, winning that pole position in the IndyCar. The biggest thing he's done in racing so far on the game. And that is a huge accomplishment, winning a pole with the big boys of the Class 1 series in the IndyCars. And that New Zealander Kiwi, man, he can get her done in the IndyCars, can he?
Oh, yeah. Freak is one of those guys who he has yet to join the Winner's Circle Club. I have no doubt that he will in the very near future. He's a big Scott Dixon fan, being from New Zealand, so the IndyCar series is his big thing. And he's one of those guys who has all the pace in the world, and he's a smart driver. And as soon as he gets the experience of running 200 and 300 mile races and learning how not to lose them, he's going to be a contender. No doubt.
Yep, another successful season for the Class 1s. I think we'll see this starts total coming up a lot more with there being less starts to compete in, and people can set them on their calendar. They don't have to run every weekend like we have been in the past. So I think we're going to get these point starts up a lot more. It's just going to make it a lot more competitive for this next season here.
Oh yeah, our Class 1, and as we segueing into Camel GT, our Class 1 very well reflect real life racing, in that Winston Cup, there's a lot of full-time drivers. IndyCar series, there's less, but still plenty of guys who pretty much run full-time. And in sports car racing and Camel GT, just like in United Sports Car Championship, there's only really any season 3 or 4 guys running for the championship, and the individual races being more of the attraction. That being said, you can't do much more than a Wokey here did, winning 8 out of 8 starts in Camel GT to win the championship. He won, the pole several times, 5 times, 8 wins. He was just dominant. Stay Down Killen gave him a run all season. He was second to him pretty much every race. I beat him to the podium, I think. I beat him to second place once or twice. But Andy just did what Andy does and ran away with it.
Yeah, consistently. You talk about consistency. He consistently wins. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he performs like crazy. That's what, got him and Stig into the GT Academy. And those guys racing and performing in the GT Academy, they give all the credit in the world back to the SCL of learning how to drive, just about anything, because you got to adapt to the car in this league. You can't set it up to how you want it or how you drive good. You just got to adapt. And those guys being able to adapt is huge. Being able to adapt from car to car, series to series.
Well, that's absolutely huge. You see it in everybody. There are guys who are great in the open wheel cars who struggle in the NASCARs and vice versa. And, I know in my time in the league, I had to learn how to drive everything in front of you. I tell newcomers that the biggest difference between running with us and running in the tuned cars is that, in a tuned car, you adapt the car to your style. With this car, your style, you got to make her dance the way she wants to dance.
Yep.
And that's just how it is. And IndyCar is a good example of that. It's very touchy machines. You have to learn how to handle it. Camel GT this season, same deal. Andy was dominant. Stay down, gave him a run. I put up decent finishes through consistency, not through pace. But this is a series that I would love to see some guys like DeCamber, even down the list a little, Cat Guy, Stig even, JB Stig even. If they ran it full time, it would be a very, very interesting championship. It is,
28 drivers competed in the race, so it's not like it wasn't a very popular series. It's usually popular right up there with late model as one of the best performing series probably for attendance every week.
Oh yeah, it's just the nature of sports car racing in general. Real life racing goes through that. Sports cars is much more part-time drivers than you get in stock car racing or IndyCar racing, and that's exactly what our Camel GT is. Guys will tend to pick and choose the track.
14 drivers only made one start the whole season, so.
Yeah, that's what you see. You see people. A lot of guys will pick
the tracks they like. Road course racing is hard, man. You got to practice the track like crazy to even be able to compete. That's why I think these guys are focusing on one track and competing just in the one race or whatever, just ones that they're good at. Like, for instance, I know this Wednesday, tomorrow, I'm going to be competitive just because of the nature of the track. I don't need to practice it.
That's right. Tomorrow night's the Camel GT Daytona Challenge exhibition. That's the new Camel GTs on the oval.
Yep, that's going to be awesome. All these new events are going to be awesome.
And we had a little bit on the lesser series. Indy Lights saw Cole win another. I believe he's won 3 Indy Lights titles, as well as the kart title again. DeCamber took one of those a couple seasons ago, but he won his 3rd kart title.
Yeah, Indy Lights was very close. 1 point. Kip was 1 point behind Cole for that Indy Lights championship, and look who's creeping in 3rd, Joel Ritchie.
Yeah, once again, an excellent performance. He was Indy Lights Rookie of the Year to go with his Grand National Rookie of the Year, and we hope that once he gets his equipment squared away, he's going to be an excellent driver. Yep. He's a good one now.
Yep. And Indy Karts, it was pretty close championship in Indy Karts. Kip and Cole up front again, those open wheel guys, they really focus on that Tuesday night. That's where they make their bread and butter.
Oh, yeah, I wish I could run those series more. I ran an Indy Lights championship in season 14. That's the only time I've run it for points. It came down to the last race with me and Kip. It was a lot of fun.
Yep.
And I'm more of an open wheel driver myself anyway.
Yep, everybody's got their different specialties, but coming in this league, you learn how to drive them all. Thursday night, they're cleaning up too, man. Colio got another late model championship last season. Those late model events are really competitive.
That is his 5th late model title. It's the 6th in a row for Team Danamore because in season 16, Kip took it. The only one to interrupt it. Cole's like Al Unser Jr. at Long Beach when it comes to late models. He's the king of the late models. So there's no 2 ways to put it when you win that many championships. A lot of us have been close. I personally have won several races in late models, as have you and several other guys. But it's tough to do it for an entire season. And
this is, he went back to the late model series and really honed how to drive it, and it's paying off. Winning 2 championships in a row over in the Winston Cup side.
Oh yeah, I can remember my early days in the league when I was on Team Danamore. Guys from other teams would ask why we did so well at late model, and I'd say, to be honest with you, we spend an inordinate amount of time preparing for late model races, considering that it's Class 3. But we did. We used to run full race distance practices, and Colio's got those tracks down, and he's always going to be a contender in the late model series.
All right, so that's last season kind of wrapped up in a nutshell there. You guys can take a look at all the live docs on the website. Speaking of the website, we also got our our schedule up for next season. We'll start talking about what's going on next season, these upcoming events that everybody here is, eligible for all these Class 2 and Class 3 events. If you hold a Class 1 license, you're eligible for all the big boy events. So want to get into next season a little bit, Carlin? Start talking about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go over our Class 1 races here a little. Our Winston Cup Series actually is going to have 6 points races, including the Twin 125. There is no chase this season. The races in green, as you see here, these are non-points events. To let everybody know how that's going to go, if it's up to us, the servers on the created tracks will get squared away, and we'll be able to run these for points just like we do any other races. This season, we're running them non-points to really work out the bugs. Certain tracks are better than others. We're going to have a lot of fun at these anyway. But as far as the championship goes in Winston Cup, with the 125s and the 500, and then 2 road course races out of the 6. This is going to be a very interesting championship. The 2 Daytona races with the Twins and the 500, that's a toss-up. There's no telling who's going to come out of that with points lead. When we hit Willow Springs and from there, and Suzuka later on, you kind of know there's favorites at the road courses, guys that are more familiar. Those of us who have run the Winston Western 200 a half a dozen times going back to season 12, we kind of know what we're going to get. But really, it's going to come down to the final weekend. I mean, the Hall of Fame 300, I can almost guarantee you there's going to be 3, 4, 5 guys within striking distance going into that race. And really, I think it's going to be about who doesn't blow it for themselves in Daytona and in one of the road course races. Because you're going to see a guy could win 2 or 3 races. And if he has a bad Daytona and he, throws up an egg at one of the road course races, then he's out of it.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, very, very hard. Those trying to sling a Winston Cup car around a road course, especially places like Willow Springs, Suzuka Circuit East. It's not very easy. There's some real tight corners on there where anybody that's a rookie competitor and hasn't run there before might find it a little difficult. But you see some of these guys, again, that are road course drivers. They run these sports cars. They are crazy about it. They come in here, they practice, they compete. Stay Down, Iwaki, JB Stig, they all run really great in these big, heavy stock cars on the road course. And a place like Willow Springs, those road course drivers can really shine out there on the West Coast.
Oh, we get our road course ringers, no doubt. And I think it's gonna, it's really gonna come down to that. The other big events besides Daytona 500 on the 31st, the Brickyard 400 on March 13th. I'm looking forward to that. That a lot of people are surprised by this statistic, but my only career Winston Cup win was the season 15 Brickyard 400. So I always enjoy, looking forward to that race. But like I said, as far as the series goes, all coming down to the last race. I'm going to jump here to IndyCar.
Okay. We'll jump down to the IndyCar schedule here. This is all live on our website.
The IndyCar series, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be 7 rounds this season. I'm going to talk a little bit here about the exhibition races too, but we're starting to compact the big events into speed weeks, and that's where the US 400 on January 29th, Friday night. Always a big race. 400 miles in the Indy cars at Daytona are nerve-wracking, just like the stock cars. It's a toss-up and has the same effect on the championship, really, that the 500 and the 125 will. There's 2 Daytona races. You want to be all out for the win. I won the season 16 US 400. I know it's a big race to win, but you really want to avoid blowing it for yourself in the Daytona races. The Indianapolis 500 will be on March 11th with the time trials the week before.
That's the biggest race of the IndyCar season right there, Indy 500.
Oh, absolutely. That's right there with our Daytona 500. Those are our two crown jewel races. We get the biggest field.
I know Remy's been
Having,
jumping up and down still. He hasn't stopped jumping up and down since he won it.
oh, no doubt. I mean, as a guy who was fortunate enough to drink the milk twice, uh, it's not just another race. You know, people remember that you won it, and it's definitely a big race. And I expect this season that we will have a gigantic field. We have a bunch of guys becoming Class 1 eligible. And I think
Just
we're
like
going to
the
see
Daytona 500, 17 qualifiers for the 500s, and we had over 20 people sign up for the event. And there's going to be more at-large entries too. So, like you said, there's going to be people going home from Daytona 500 and Indy 500 just because they're such big events this season.
Oh, absolutely. And it's going to come down same deal. I know in the last 4 seasons I've been chasing Kip, it's come down 3 times to the final race at Motegi. And the Firestone 300 is really quickly becoming a major of itself, you know, the big Motegi IndyCar race. Doesn't have that official status of one of the crown jewel races, but it might as well. And that's going to be another big championship. And jumping down here to Camel GT, there's 8-point races here in the Camel GT series, 6 on the road courses, 2 on the ovals. The difference in Camel GT for season 18, for those are the guys who are wanting to know some of the changes. Besides just the car, we're now running the Corvette V06 LM race car, which has more of a stock kind of body as opposed to a prototype. The biggest difference in the series is we were running kind of a World Endurance Championship kind of imitation. Going into this season, we kind of figure there's other people out there that do that and do that well, you know, the GT Planet type of endurance races. And so this is looking more like it's kind of, in my mind, it's Camel GT meets SCCA, you know, that kind of, you know, meets Kelly America series, if anybody remembers that vintage road racing series. That's kind of what direction we're going in. We're not using the fast tire wear anymore. So it's stay fast and don't make mistakes. And that season's going to start off with the Daytona Continental on the 27th, which is a 2-hour race on the road course. Woki's the defending champion. JB Stig has won it before. That's probably the biggest major and deserves its place alongside the rest of them, the other 4 or 5 major races. We got the 2 ovals, at Indianapolis and Motegi. Tomorrow night, Wednesday night, the 20th, the exhibition on the Daytona Oval. This series is just tough to say it. You know, if Awoki and JB Stig both ran it for points, I think it'd be up to the 2 of them. I think it's going to be more competitive than a lot of people think, because even though Andy ran off with a sweep last season in the Camel GT races, there was a few races that some of us were fairly close to him. But that's because Andy's in college and not putting in as much testing time, I think. I know I finished 10 seconds behind him at high-speed ring and, you know, stopped pinching myself. But, you know, along with the exhibition, this is, once again, just a series of races that are consistency is really the key. You know, everybody don't forget, Jay Vick won the series title in season 16 without winning a race. You know, but he was 2nd through 4th in every single start. So let's move on. Yep.
Class 2 schedule. Let's go start out with stock car Class 2. That's going to be your Grand National Division. We've got a great points championship here for the Grand National Division. We're going to start out January 30th, 8:30 p.m. Those are always good shows over there in the Grand National. Like you said, real close championship last year. I don't see any difference this year. 8:30 p.m. January 30th, we're going to be running the traditional RC Cola 250, one of the oldest races we ever run here. That dates all the way back to the GT5, the RC Cola 250 moniker. at beautiful, fabulous Daytona 500. That's their biggest race of the year over on the Grand National side. That's going to be awesome. Then we're going to some of these created tracks. These are not for points, anything in green. Ray Bestis 150 at Dixie Union. Then we're taking a week off for Valentine's Day and then hitting it hard again with a road course. That's going to be hard and heavy out there on the West Coast. But another awesome season here, and it looks like it's probably going to come down to the Sony 200 April 30th in Motegi. That's going to be, another fun race, and it's going to probably come down to very close couple of laps at the end battle for the championship.
Especially with only 5 races.
Yep, 5 races, nice short. You can put these on your calendar. You got to be there January 30th, February 20th. You got to be there March 12th. You just set them on your show up for those events, and you got a real good shot at taking home the championship in the SCL. We'll go ahead and take a look at, you want to discuss the Indy Light schedule here for us, Carlin?
Absolutely. Let's check out the Indy Light schedule here. Opening up at Laguna Seca. During speed weeks, they've run an Indy Lights race out there at Laguna Seca for going on 5 seasons now. Personally love that track. Couple of, several road courses. We do run Motegi on the series. Indy Lights is very popular cars. You gotta be competitive with the Dana guys to compete in this series. They've got it. They've been running very good here, and I personally would like to point out April 5th, Special Stage Route 5 Clubman is a very popular race, and Indy Lights are Indy Lights. They're an interesting breed. The cars are stuck together.
Yep.
And
these are going to be points events this season. The non-points events are pretty interesting too in this series. You got them going to Greenville Speedway. What are they doing on a short track, Carlin? I don't know.
Well, Indy cars are running, not this season so much, but I believe for the future, Indy cars are looking to run short tracks, and not surprised Indy Lights are. They were very good on the short tracks.
Loving it.
I think everybody's looking forward to the Bunny Bread 75 on March 1st at Dover.
Yep, and the Ski 50 at Fayetteville. That's going to be a fun race too. I mean, all these races that are on the created tracks, you can make a lot of money coming in there. You're not getting points, but you're making a lot of credits, and it's counting towards your Class 1 championship status.
Oh, absolutely. In the recent off-season race at Canyon Motor Speedway, so Lone Star 300, I finished 8th, and I made $800,000.
Yep, and the Simpson 55 that we had at Fayetteville last week was one of the best races I've had. Again, our boy Freak, he was getting it done there in the late model car, and I just passed him at the end. Real close racing out there on that flat short track, and I'm very, very interested to see what they're going to do March 29th out there with the Indy Light cars at Fayetteville.
Oh, absolutely.
So those are our Class 2. We'll take a look at Class 3. Again, we got our late model championship. That's going to be a close one. Starting out with the Permatex 100, their biggest race, January 28th at Daytona. And then they're going to Greenville and taking a week off and then hitting it again at Motegi. They don't go out to the West Coast to Willow Springs. A lot of people say thank you for that in their championship. So we are hitting Motegi twice, so that is going to be a huge stop on the late model tour is Motegi, February 18th and April 28th. Again, 5 rounds for the championship. But these other races, man, they're nothing to shake a stick at. Rebel 100, Simpson 100, Dixie Union, Benson Speedway Park. I mean, these are going to be awesome races.
All the cars are going to be glued together in the late models there. I'm not the biggest fan, as a lot of guys know, of the late model series, but the race at Fayetteville last week was a lot of fun. Once we got a few of the cautions out of our system in the first 10, 15 laps, the race was clean, and the cars handled great, and the track was actually fairly clean. We didn't have a whole lot of lag issues. Very promising race, but
Yeah, I think
I
the
definitely
more
think we're going to be
races
good.
we do on these created tracks, the better we are getting. We're noticing that we can handle the lag bumps when they hit us. We can save them when we're kind of prepared for them to happen, and they're not happening as much because we're not getting into those situations. Getting real close quarter racing. We're figuring out how to really drive the cars a lot better on the track, and that's minimizing a lot of the caution flags that we do have. People not diving in or whatnot, or not knowing the closing rate. Closing rate is way different on these tracks where people are not used to them. Being at Indianapolis, Motegi, Daytona, that's what they're used to in the championships. And then you come to a place where you got to lift a little bit going into the corner, and that throws a lot of people. But these off-season races we've been having, getting prepared for them, have been awesome. We got the Silver Bullet 55 Thursday night. That is going to be a fun race. That's going to be at Ontario Motor Speedway, a flat 1.2 mile, kind of a big Fayetteville. That's going to be fun there. We'll hope to see you all for that. Qualifying open up tomorrow night. So I guess that's most of our stuff here. We'll go to our other Class 3 event here, which is not for points this season. You want to kind of explain how the Indy carts are going to work this season, Carlin?
Yeah, absolutely. Tuesday night, they are being exhibition races only. I believe they're going back to the shifter carts this season, the 125.
Yep, that's confirmed.
It feeds into Indy Lights. Those are just fun races. I very rarely run the carts because inexplicably I can handle an Indy car, but not a go-kart. But they're a lot of fun, those races, and great place to shake off the cobwebs.
And they're going to some good tracks too. They are going to the Ontario Motor Speedway that we are running Thursday. A lot of ovals that you might not think for running go-karts is good on the ovals, but they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, more than half the schedule.
Yeah, a lot of ovals. So I think those shifter carts are going to be good because you can tune the transmissions out, work on them a little bit. Get your Allen keys out and wrench on them a little bit, and you can make a lot of speed getting on those ovals and on the high banks and stuff. So I think that's going to be real fun. Even though those are all in public event rooms and they are not for points, they do count towards your Class 1 title.
Yeah, absolutely. Make as many starts as you can to get your Class 1 sooner. Point out real quick, as Johnny said, you've got the race this Thursday. We're fully into speed week now. We said earlier, Camel GT Daytona Challenge is tomorrow. That qualifying will open tonight. Friday night, we're running a speed week at the Daytona Mini Road Course, the Valvoline Tour cars from the runoff. Catherine 7 Fireblade, the Goodies Dash car, the Pontiac Sunfire GXP. I'm missing one, Mazda Roadster touring car.
Yep.
And then full on Saturday night the Busch Clash car race, and then Sunday's the 125. So guys, shake off the dust. Off season's over. Speed Weeks is here.
Yep, and all you Winter Circle guys, Saturday night, man, the Busch Clash. Anybody that's won a points race, calling all points race winners. We're going to put on a show at the Busch Clash at Daytona. 3 different segments there. That's going to be fun. The last one being 10 laps with no caution, so that always brings out the best racing in everybody.
Oh, we should put on the record, since we're doing the broadcast, the story of my first Busch Clash, because that's an interesting tale.
All right, let's do story time with Carlin for a little bit here before we wrap the show up.
All right, it was my rookie season in season 12, and I had just been signed to Team Dana like 3 days before. And I was, very wet behind the ears. And we got into the Busch Clash, which at that time, I didn't have to be a previous winner. And they took care of their rookie that race. They steadily pushed. They won a segment. Kip won a segment, Cole won a segment, and they pushed me to the front. And so we head into the last segment. We're running 1, 2, 3. They got me out front. They're telling me we're pushing you to the win. I haven't even made a point start yet in the league, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to get me a win in the Busch Clash. With about 6 laps to go, all 3 of us blew motors at the same time. It was sort of like when lightning struck that entire soccer team in Africa. You know, it's kind of what it was like. Truth is, ladies and gentlemen, the servers booted us. First through third disappeared, and we were out. And I just always, every time we run the Busch Clash, I have yet to win one. I believe I finished second in one, third in one. I'm not sure the racing gods want me to win a Busch Clash.
No, they weren't shining on Dana Moore that time. They were not shining on him. They took out the whole team. It's like, what happened? It was so weird because, you know, Kip and Cole have the same kind of close server issues running off the same deal, but you're all the way down in Texas, and for all 3 of you, the only ones that got disconnected, man, it was like, what happened? They all blew motors.
It was very odd.
Yeah.
It was very odd, but I'm going to try again on Saturday. So
Saturday's going to be fun. Saturday's going to be fun. All right, I guess that's about it. We'll be back next week. We'll tell you a whole lot more. Anything else you got to add there, Carlin, at the end of this thing?
Absolutely not. Just see you guys at Speed Weeks. Check out the website, SundayCupLeague.wix.com/SCRN. There's Johnny Benson holding it up for you. Without spending an extreme amount of money on equipment that none of us can afford, you will not find any better racing anywhere. So come on out.
Yep, and with that being said, we'll see you all at Speed Weeks, and we'll see you next week for SCL Weekly. Thank you very much for watching, and again, we'll see you next week.